Mangwana ni malelepo vukenjan Klekwas Vanave Africa. Welcome to Africa Good Morning, the news and current affairs show bringing you everything you need to know happening on the African continent and beyond. Later on the show, we'll be joined by Rorisang Mogojwe as she says Dumelang from Gaborone, Botswana, delivering the Botswana report, including latest news with regards to Festus Mogae, the former president who is apparently right now doing quite well. And of course, the much anticipated World Athletics Relays, amongst other updates. But prior to that, these are the stories from the beautiful African continent, or related to the continent, that we'll be talking about. President Lula of Brazil challenges Donald Trump over Ramaphosa's G20 exclusion stance. Joint forces free 200 captives from ADF rebel hold in eastern DRC. Tigray party move to reclaim power threatens Ethiopia peace deal. President William Ruto defends Kenya fuel prices as cost of development and status. And Africa's economic shift has been driven by urbanization and fintech growth, as well as pioneering Miss World representative Cynthia Shange, sadly passing away at 76. DSTV 285, GOTV 25, OneUp2.com, Network Media Hub, NTVAFRIKA.MY.NA is precisely where you can watch the show. My name is Ashwin Mbedi. Top story shortly.
Namibia is a land of movement, with waves that never stop reaching forward. Here, adventure is not something we search for. It is something we are born into. In every corner of this country, creativity rises. From artists, from athletes, from dreamers. And when the world comes to explore Namibia, they discover something extraordinary. Because when sport moves people, creativity moves ideas, and tourism moves the world toward us. Something powerful happens. A platform where movement meets imagination, where industries connect, where opportunity grows, where Namibia's next chapter begins. Welcome to the Creative Sport Tourism Expo. Exhibit, partner, experience. Creative Sport Tourism.
Getting into our top stories, Brazilian President Lula Inácio Lula da Silva said that U.S. President Donald Trump had no right to bar South African President Cyril Ramaphosa from attending the G20 summit. Speaking in Hanover, Germany, alongside German Chancellor Friedrich Merz, Lula said he had directly encouraged Ramaphosa to attend despite the stance from Washington. He stated that Ramaphosa must be present and should not stay away simply because Trump indicated otherwise. The remarks come as relations remain strained between South Africa and Trump's administration, which previously expelled former Ambassador Ibrahim Rasool after his criticism of Donald Trump. Tensions have deepened after Trump accused South Africa of allowing a white genocide, quote unquote, against the white Afrikaner minority, claiming they were being racially targeted and killed. In response, Trump cut all financial assistance to the country and introduced a program offering migration and asylum to white Afrikaners who feel persecuted. Further disagreement persists over South Africa's decision to pursue a case at the International Court of Justice, accusing Israel of genocide against Palestinians, adding another layer of conflict between the two nations. However, to be contextually correct, the core issue is absolutely the ICJ case against Israel. We all know in the journalistic field that has how everything has unfolded. It started with the opposition to that case, and it eventually flowed into these broad accusations which have been denied by Pretoria. Now we move on to our next story. Ugandan and Congolese forces have reported the rescue of at least 200 civilians from captivity by an ISIL-linked rebel group in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. The captives were freed last week after being kidnapped by the Allied Democratic Forces, according to Uganda's military. Those rescued from a camp along the river Epulu were found in poor health, with many recounting harsh conditions including lack of food, forced labor, and punishment for disobedience. Several appeared frail and were suffering from untreated illnesses such as malaria, respiratory infections, and physical exhaustions. The ADF, which began in 1994 in Uganda and later pledged allegiance to ISIL, moved into eastern DRC after military offensives and has since intensified attacks along the border. United Nations figures indicate the group has killed thousands of civilians and frequently kidnapped civilians, forcing young female captives into marriage. We now move to Ethiopia, where Tigray's main political party has announced it is taking back control of the region's government, effectively voiding a peace deal with Ethiopia's federal authorities that ended a devastating conflict. The Tigray People's Liberation Front made the declaration in a Facebook post, accusing the federal government of violating the Pretoria Agreement. It alleged that the government provoked armed conflict with Tigray, withheld funds for civil servants, and extended the interim administration's leadership without consultation. The party warned that the federal government appeared to be moving toward renewed war. The statement prompted a response from Getachew Reda, who described it as a clear rejection of the post-war structure established under the agreement. The federal government has maintained that it abides by the accord and previously accused the TPLF of plotting against it. The civil war between 2020 and 2022 killed hundreds of thousands, according to researchers, before ending with the African Union-mediated Pretoria Agreement. Now, amidst huge global crises with regards to fuel and petrol, particularly linked to the Strait of Hormuz, President William Ruto has defended fuel prices in Kenya. Now he's linking them to the country's economic classification and infrastructure demands. He said Kenya, as a middle-income economy, cannot be compared to neighboring states classified as least developed countries. Here is President William Ruto in his own words.
I know many people in Kenya keep asking, why is it that sometimes prices of fuel are different in Kenya from our neighbors? And sometimes maybe it's good to let them know, because it's important for people to know. Three things. Number one, Kenya is a middle-income country. Our neighbors are least development countries. There's a big difference. If you want to compare Kenya fairly with others, compare Kenya with other middle-income countries. That is how you will get the figures right. Middle-income countries like Kenya are possibly have higher prices than Kenya, or the same. That's number one. Number two, our fuel supports transport infrastructure. I just want Kenyans to know that we have 20,000 kilometers of tarmac to maintain, and we have 6,000 kilometers of tarmac under construction. 20,000 kilometers of tarmac to maintain here in Kenya is actually the same for the other 6 or 7 East African countries. If you add the number of kilometers in Uganda, Tanzania, DRC, Rwanda, Burundi, South Sudan, it is not 20,000 kilometers. Yeah? So the 20,000 kilometers we have in Kenya is more than all the tarmac in all the other 7 countries in EAC. That is what we are maintaining. Number 2, the 6,000 kilometers we are constructing at the moment in Kenya is equivalent to all the tarmacs in our neighboring country, which has been built for 60 years. Sasa jameni, tujue vile mambo inaendelea.
Now, Africa has experienced a steady acceleration in economic as well as digital transformation over the past decade, with growth averaging 3 to 4% despite ongoing crises. This progress, while notable, remains fragile and uneven across countries. The evolution has been driven by strong population growth, rapid urbanization, and a highly connected youth population. Digital usage has expanded significantly, particularly through mobile devices, which now play a central role in transactions and services across the continent. One of the most dynamic sectors emerging from this shift is fintech, with companies such as Flutterwave and Paystack attracting international investment. Kenya has also positioned itself as a hub for digital financial services in East Africa. Alongside financial technology, cultural industries like music are benefiting from digital distribution, gaining visibility on global platforms. However, challenges persist, particularly in financing infrastructure such as energy and transport systems. Debt burdens continue to constrain many economies, while economic integration efforts are advancing through initiatives like the African Continental Free Trade Area. And Cynthia Shange, regarded as the first black woman to represent South Africa at the Miss World competition during apartheid, died at the age of 76. Her daughter Nlonhle Tema announced her passing, describing her mother as a compassionate and graceful figure who brought warmth and dignity to those around her. Shange rose to prominence in the 1970s when black women were barred from competing in Miss South Africa due to apartheid policies. She instead won Miss Africa South and went on to compete in the 1972 Miss World pageant in London, finishing 5th alongside the white Miss South Africa contestant. While not the first non-white participant, her representation marked a significant moment under the racial classifications of the time. Beyond pageantry, she built a long career as an actress, appearing in productions such as Udeliwe and the historical drama Shaka Zulu. In 2024, she received a Lifetime Achiever Award for contributions to acting. Her passing was confirmed after an illness, with funeral details also announced. May her soul continue to rest in peace. This is Still Africa. Good morning. We're going to take a quick break before we return with the Botswana report. All right, in the interests of time, Rorisang and I are just going to get straight into it. Rory, your first story: the Director of Public Prosecutions is not mincing his words with regards to corruption in Botswana.
Power will not protect you. Money will not protect you. This was a warning by the Director of Public Prosecutions, Cyril, to political leaders as well as senior government officials, including ministers, permanent secretaries, directors of government departments, saying that any attempt by members of the executive to interfere with the office, with the work of his office, will now be met with resistance, as his office is now preparing to pursue and take on high-profile cases. Now, Ngakachai was speaking during the unveiling of the roadmap of the Directorate of Public Prosecutions, where he said that cases of national importance, particularly those high-profile cases, including corruption that involves political leaders and senior government officials, will now be prioritized. Now, this is especially important in light of the fact that results of a comprehensive forensic audit that was ordered by President Duma Boko are expected to be released very soon. The president did say that he's expecting the report to be handed over to his office by the 30th of April. So results are expected to be published shortly after. And so when DPP Ngakachai was unveiling his national roadmap, he did mention that several cases, both historic and current, will soon be brought before the courts as part of efforts to clear the backlog as well as strengthen accountability amongst especially senior government officials who he says that, the government enclave is a crime scene. He alleges that there is a lot, or rather there is widespread corruption that involves politicians, permanent secretaries, as well as other senior government officials. And so this is also very important because members of the public have in the recent past questioned as to why the state through the DPP has lost several major or high-profile cases. And just to name a few, the NPF scandal, the National Petroleum Fund scandal, as well as the case involving a former president Ian Khama and South African businesswoman Bridget Motsepe, just to name a few. These are, several of the high-profile cases that the state or the DPP has lost. And so Kgositsi Ngakachai was saying that now his office is preparing to take on some of these high-profile cases that are from the past as well as those that are current, in order to ensure that there is accountability and also to clear the backlog, because he says that government is actually inundated by, the backlog of cases that dates back to many, many years. And so the DPP has not been able to properly and efficiently execute its mandate because of the backlog of cases, but now they are preparing to pursue these cases and also to prioritize those that are of national importance.
Believing somewhat that power will protect, that privilege will protect, that office, political or otherwise, will protect. We sound a clear warning today. Power shall not protect. Money shall not protect. Privilege shall not protect. Status shall not protect. If we receive a docket here, if the evidence is sufficient, we shall move swiftly and we shall move decisively to hold you to account. That is the position of the Directorate at the present moment, and that is the position that shall remain as long as this dispensation abides under my directorship and with the cooperation of all my colleagues behind me.
A very heavy-handed stance which is needed given the circumstances. I'm going to say goodbye now as Rorisang Mogojwe takes us out, because we know we need some good time with regards to the next story. DSTV 285, GOTV 25, oneup2.com, Network Media Hub, NTVAFRIKA.MY.NA is precisely where you can watch the show. Tomorrow we return as Ari Hohat takes us through the South Africa report. And of course, will remain your portal into Africa's most potent stories. So from me and the Africa Good Morning team, we say Swaraj Zakanaka. However, Rorisang Mogojwe talked to us about Botswana unveiling diamond-embedded medals for the World Relays.
President Duma Boko has officially unveiled the medals for the World Athletics Relays, which for the first time in the history of the event will feature natural diamonds, and not just any natural diamonds, but diamonds from Botswana, who will be playing host to this very event, which will be taking place for the first time on African soil, right here in Botswana, in Gaborone at the National Stadium. Now, the launch forms parts of efforts by the country to strengthen the local diamond value chain through cutting and polishing as well as marketing. And so the president, when he was launching the medals, he said that they represent more than just design, but they are a symbol of the people of Botswana, as well as the heritage and the natural resources of the country. Now, the Okavango Diamond Company has also stepped forward to feature, or rather to sponsor this event by 10 million pula, which is about $746,000 US. And they are also sponsoring with 120 of these medals, which are embedded with locally processed diamonds. Now, the event is set to take place from the 2nd until the 3rd of May. And like I said, it is taking place for the first time in Africa, and it's going to attract competitors from over 50 countries. Now, Botswana is fielding a very strong team. We're expecting the Olympics champion Litsile Tebogo, as well as the world champion Colin Kibina-Tipi. The excitement is only just starting amongst members of the public. It's only just starting. The complaint, rather, has been that there hasn't been enough marketing of the World Athletics Relays, both here at home as well as internationally. So there has been questions as to how prepared we actually are to host this major global event. You know, we're looking at infrastructure, we're looking at resources, human resources that are available, the people who will be here to host and whatnot, as well as just the general marketing and the excitement around, or the build-up of the excitement around the event. That has been a key contention amongst members of the public. But of course, the local organizing committee, as well as the Ministry of Sport and Arts, has assured members of the public that everything is in order. Preparations are at an advanced stage. And the president actually took to the podium last week when he was launching a solar plant, calling on members of the public to put on their patriotic hats and come out and support the athletes, especially the local team who will be representing Botswana at this global event at the World Athletics Relays. And so Botswana are actually now only just starting to get excited. The mood is starting to get all fired up as we prepare to host this major global event that is the Gaborone 2026 World Athletics Relay Competitions.
Le rotloetsa betso gona le diphadisano tsa mabelo World Athletics on the 2nd to the 3rd of May in the Republic of Botswana at the National Stadium in Gaborone. We have some of the finest athletes in the world, world class, folks who hold records, folks who are doing amazing feats on the international stage. And one of them, Colin Kibina-Tipi, ran sub 10 seconds in 100 meters, and he's a 400-meter guy. You can see that these kids are pushing limits. These young cats are extremely driven, passionate, committed athletes. So they will be pitting themselves against others from the world on the 2nd to the 3rd of May. Let's all be there to witness this beautiful spectacle of sport. And let's go give support to all the athletes. And let's make our country the best and the proudest host. So thank you very much to all of you. I hear complaints that the event is not being fully marketed. Please ramp up the marketing. take it to the bedrooms and living rooms of all our people so that they come and support. And we can have light moments even in the face of the challenges that we have to wrestle with on a daily basis. Our diamonds carry a story that is real, verifiable, measurable, a story of infrastructure built, health care strengthened, education expanded, and lives transformed. A story of a nation that has turned natural resources into shared prosperity. As Botswana readies itself to host the World Athletics Relays 2026 in Gaborone, we step onto the global stage not only as a host nation, but as a nation of purpose, ambition, and pride. This event, a key qualifier for the World Athletics Championships, will bring the world to our capital, Diamond City, offering us a powerful platform to showcase the spirit, unity, and warmth that define us as Botswana. We acknowledge the Okavango Diamond Company for its 10 million Pula sponsorship commitment, a demonstration that diamonds must do more than shine. They must serve purpose.